Welcome to the Burnout Recovery Podcast, a guiding resource dedicated to healthcare professionals on their journey to overcoming burnout. Spearheaded by Dr. Joe Braid, a certified professional coach and rehabilitation physician.
This week on the Burnout Recovery Podcast, I am absolutely delighted to welcome Morwenna Williams to the podcast. Hi, Wenna.
Hey, Joe. How are you going?
Yeah, great. Thank you. So when I was one of my original OG coaching clients in 2022, she is a senior and well-experienced registered nurse and midwife, also here in the Central West. And it's been an absolute delight to coach Wenna over, I think, about 12 months. It was quite an extensive coaching program, and then see how she has absolutely transformed from burnout to growth and new avenues for her now. So it's great to have you here on the podcast today. Thanks, Wenna.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be chatting to you today.
Why don't you give my audience a bit of an overview of the things that matter to you and sort of what has brought you to where you are here today in 2025, recording a podcast episode with me?
Thanks, Joe. I guess I just backtrack a little bit more about my background. I am a mum and of two teenage kids, a wife of a fellow health professional, as mentioned, registered nurse and midwife. I've been working in maternity space for over 20 years, for most of my professional career. Came from a clinical background, so half of that time was working on the floor with mums and babies, and then moved into a sort of more leadership roles as a midwifery consultant for about 8 years of that, and still working in the maternity space. I think on a reflection, I definitely think that I may not have been still working in the maternity health space if it wasn't for coaching. And through that process, I guess got a bit more clarity as to where I wanted to be in terms of my professional career at that point, and made a decision through that coaching to take on a statewide role still in the maternity space. Yeah, I guess since I started that journey with you, I've done a lot of work on reconnecting and even rediscovering my values and what's been really important to me and what I really wanted to get out of life, which prior to that coaching, I just didn't have the headspace, energy, mental capacity, all of that to really even dream or even consider what that might look like moving forward. So I've done a lot of work on what's sort of important to me, identifying what I really didn't want in my life, what didn't serve me any longer. And getting really clear on what I wanted to do. I guess giving myself that permission piece, that's another piece that I've worked on a lot, to actually want what I want and to go after it. Yeah. And the reflection really wouldn't have been possible without this coaching opportunity.
Yeah. So, I hear sort of those shifts for you in getting really clear on your values, getting clear in decision-making, which is such a great part, I think, that coaching can help people with, giving yourself permission in different areas of your life, and really choosing what you wanted to do going forwards and what you wanted to drop and let go as well. Let's go back to what was going on when you reached out in 2022. We were just talking before we went live, and you said you saw me on social media and realized I was still a healthcare professional, which I still am today, and also local and a mum at the same school and so forth. What were you noticing in yourself when you were heading into burnout? What were some of the things you noticed?
I think initially it wasn't just one day I woke up and bang, I'm in burnout and that's what it is. It was this gradual sort of, I've heard other people talk about this, so that gradual creep, it sort of creeps up on you. So I guess initially I didn't really recognize what was going on. It was just, I don't know what I really thought, to be honest. It was just sort of, that's what life was like. I guess I describe it to people as being stuck in a revolving door that I just could not get out of. That, day in, day out, sort of Groundhog Day of life. So that's how I describe it initially. Yeah. But as that during that, leading up to that time, before I started coaching with you, obviously COVID happened. And I really think that for me, that accelerated where I was in that burnout trajectory. And as I'm sure you can relate to, being in the health professional, a very stressful time for everyone, particularly those working in health, or even having a family member working in the health system, which I did as well. And, that uncertainty that came with that period of time, that loss of control over sort of work situation for a lot of us working in health. A lot of us had no choice. You still had to turn up to work, and myself, even though I wasn't working clinically, there was different pivot in the work that you're expected to do, and had no control over that. And also, managing or balancing that working life, schools being shut, having another shift worker in the house. How am I going to work? How am I going to homeschool the kids? How are we going to do this all? So, that definitely impacted on, I guess, that trajectory of burnout. So I guess at its worst, I remember the fatigue, having absolutely no energy to do anything. So that Groundhog Day of just, I guess it was just existing and work from one day to the next. I guess to the point where some days it was a struggle to even get out of bed to go to work.
Yeah.
Procrastination was rife as well, even though, you still have to function. You've got, your work priorities, you've got family commitments, but it just felt, I hear a lot of people say the same word, it sounds pretty cliche, of just being stuck. And I guess on reflection, feeling of numb, I don't think I knew what to feel. It was just a nothingness.
Okay. Great visual with the revolving door. Or the revolving doors that it was hard to get out of, and which one when do I make a move? I feel stuck. I feel numb. I'm not noticing emotions or feelings like I might have done before. So it was maybe accelerated by or perpetuated by or worsened by the year prior and the COVID experience that we had already 2 years prior. What did you try before reaching out for coaching to help you with the fatigue you noticed, the change in procrastination that you were aware of, maybe particularly in the workspace, but also in the family space? And if the sense of numbness to your feelings was also a concern, was there anything that you tried out first?
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a tricky question because you're so lacking that energy and drive to do anything. As I said, it was kind of like, just existing and surviving. Trying to talk yourself out of it. This is ridiculous. Like, snap out of it kind of stuff. Just thinking that eventually things might just get better, I guess. That this can't be what life is like forever. I guess I think thoughts going through my head at the time was, I'm either burnt out because I knew what burnout was. I've got some background in reflective clinical supervision as well through my role as through the profession of nursing and midwifery. So it wasn't like it was a foreign concept to me. I knew what it was. And I had been practicing reflective supervision myself, but I think it obviously wasn't enough, or maybe not exactly what I needed to support myself to get myself out of burnout. And I remember we had some of those conversations of, I know what to do, I know, but I just didn't have the energy to do it.
So I can hear some inner chat that was happening to you, sort of, come on, get out of this, you can beat this, or there's something within you that can get past this, or just let the passage of time in a more passive way, that this is going to get better with time. And then sort of one of the more active methods or styles you took would have been that self-reflection that was with yourself, did you say, or did somebody else?
Doing reflective supervision with another.
With others, okay.
I recall saying to myself one day, well, I'm either burnt out or I'm depressed or I'm just completely losing the plot. And I guess the differentiation for me was on the weekend, I think it was very much work related as well. But on the weekend, I could function pretty well. And, that Sunday dread of thinking, oh my God, what's coming up? What am I going to be facing at work? really not helpful or unhealthy thinking, as you're going into that working week, that, sense of dread.
Yeah.
Definitely alive and well.
Yeah. And you can see that sort of context-specific time when you notice the burnout feelings. And that's one of those points to highlight, that depression usually has a very pervasive low mood, so across all the different contexts of life, but burnout is usually more specific to the occupation or the time in the week when the burnout occurs, which can also be sort of carer support in a caring role. Okay, so then something happened for you to take the action on reaching out to have a chat with me. So
so I recall actually jumping online and did a burnout quiz, going, okay, is this actually what it is? And it was alarm bells galore. Like, I had no doubt at that point, given, that rational thinking and thought process, being a health professional as well, to go, I'm confident that this is what it is. I'd seen yourself on social media, talking about what you were doing and that you were offering coaching. So, and I knew through my previous, training of reflective supervision that it was important to actually talk to someone about what was going on. Even though I had been, engaging in reflective supervision, it's very different to coaching. I know that they can complement each other, but the reflective supervision was really much more about, the sort of work challenges and situations that didn't go right, and how might you do that differently next time, and those sorts of things. Talking about personal issues was clearly out of scope. That sort of setting. So
So you did a quiz, you did an assessment. You're like, wow, okay, this is looking like I'm really at high risk of burnout here, and then you had that insight on what was within scope and not necessarily within scope of the supervision. And, I found that a lot of healthcare professionals haven't known much about coaching, like it's in that sporting arena, or sometimes performers as well will have coaches, or even corporate people at senior levels may well have coaches. So were you coaching skeptical at all when you were thinking about coaching in healthcare, or were you more sort of open-minded about that before we got started?
I was skeptical at all. I knew what coaching was, and so that across that spectrum of what supervision is. So from that, sort of from a health perspective, that one-on-one clinical supervision in the workplace where you're being actively supervised, reflective practice, mentoring, coaching. So I was, aware of sort of the spectrum of what was out there.
Okay. Yeah, good. Okay. And then, so we got started and had regular weekly sessions, and then you put in the work that coaching is not a passive modality. It is actually quite an active, practice needed kind of modality there. Does anything stick out to you as something that you remember sort of taking on and trying out and working on through lots of different tools that we shared, or I shared?
I think probably one of the main things that resonated with me or worked well was just, it was around that feeling piece and action piece. That the self-coaching model that you used.
Yes.
How do you feel in that situation? What are you doing or not doing in that situation in response to how you're feeling? I think getting greater awareness around that was really helpful. I guess, again, that permission piece, it's okay to have feelings and feel things, feel stuff.
Yeah.
I think, as I've heard it many times from other health professionals, particularly who've been around for a while, that conditioning that you're exposed to over the years of, you don't express emotions at work, you get back on your bike, keep going, dust yourself off, you'll be right. It's on to the next thing, next patient, whatever it is.
Yes.
So that had been, well entrenched in my being, I guess, for a very long time. So, having the opportunity and being given an opportunity to have those insights into what I was doing and not doing as a result of how I was feeling, and actually acknowledging that I was having these feelings, and that was okay.
Yeah. Such an important part. Yeah, absolutely. That having that wider range of emotions is so great for our well-being overall, and totally relatable. I had this sense of wearing a lead radiology gown for years, and that stopped me from noticing my feelings, from either them sort of coming out or coming in, and it was a lot of numbness for me as well. So can really relate to that. So let's fast forward now, and you've had more coaching, and you're also upskilling as a coach yourself, which is incredible. Don't let me spoil your show. What is different since recovering from burnout for you, Wenna?
Yeah, so following on from coaching from you, I really did sounds cliche, but really did find that energy, got that energy back. And I guess that's led me down this other path of really then wanting to understand why I ended up with burnout and what sort of underpins that process of burnout, and found another opportunity came up to work with another coach by the name of Jo Stone. She runs the Balance Institute, and hers was a whole a program really designed for women, high achieving women, to really, really to learn about some tools to really support yourself, to show up and to live the best life that you want to live. So I was learning about, as I said, I touched on reconnecting with my values, what was really important to me. What else did we do? Understanding the 3 Ps, that perfectionist, people pleasing, procrastination piece, and what drives that, and to be just increased awareness and understanding of how that all works, particularly when you are a high achieving woman, professional woman. And having more tools in my toolkit that I could use when I need to, depending on the situation as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. So good. So the energy came back. That was a real shift that you noticed, and that's what people are looking for. They feel so drained, and they're like, it's got to be a different way than living with, the red part only of the battery showing rather than any green.
And I guess through that, the additional work that I've done, as I mentioned before, like letting really clear on that permission piece, do a little work around desires. What do I really want? And that permission piece to want what I want. And I think that's not just extends to healthcare, but as women generally, a lot of that gets suppressed, through other roles of being a wife, a mother, all that sort of stuff, that you got to put yourself first. And you put a lot of your desires on hold. I'll do that when this, or when I have that, or when this happens in my life, then I will do that. But I think for a lot of us, if you continue on that way, you'll never be able to step in and chase those desires. So so that work really got me clear on what I wanted, and I guess reconnecting with what was really important to me, and also links in what the core of who I am as a health professional is around, and what I value is that caring and support for others. And I felt in some ways I'm really proud of what I've achieved professionally and where I am now, but felt I'd sort of gone too far one way rather than being really true to myself and what was important to me. I guess, that's led to me exploring becoming a coach myself. So I'm going through that process of becoming a coach myself with a plan, sort of a stage plan to take on more coaching and to give me more flexibility in my life, to fit in around my family and what they're doing, and more control over what I want to do.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. I think it's such a different lot of verbiage that you use now in that, in what you see going forwards and what you're already creating for yourself, compared to feeling out of control and sort of that something else is in charge of what you have got time for or no time for or energy for. So yeah, it's amazing to hear that. Really good. And yeah, you've got an exciting future ahead, which still involves supporting and caring for others in.
Yeah, that's where I really want to go. Support other health professionals in their burnout recovery journey, and prevention is where my real interest is at the moment. Yeah, I'm excited where that journey is going to take me. Yeah.
And boy, do we need more people that can help with that. I think it's so wonderful.
Thanks, Jodie.
Yeah, the health system is somewhat stretched at the moment, and more support for any healthcare professionals in the system.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's such a great way to go. Yeah. So imagine there's somebody who's, open to that sort of idea of coaching, but they're a bit on the fence as to whether or not to get support in recovery from burnout. What might be some words or phrases, or what might you say to that kind of person?
Yeah, good question, Jo. I guess it's going to sound cliche. The first thing that comes to mind is to just do it. Like, reach out and just have a conversation to start and see where it takes you. I guess it's about that bravery stepping into that vulnerability, giving yourself that permission to reach out and ask for help and support. I kept a lot of my burnout to myself. It's not till you start talking to people that you realise, a lot of people around me were having the similar thoughts, feelings and experiences. So, it's been really powerful to reach out and just have conversations and chat about what's been going on, and to normalise it, I guess. Not that it should be a normal part of being a healthcare professional, but it's reality for a lot of us. Find someone who you feel safe with and just start the conversation.
Yeah, I think so great highlights that you've said there. I think the feeling the safe in the conversation with that person who you may not have met before, I think that's why it's great to have those time to have a chat, or just a discovery call, however you want to call it, without any compulsion or strings attached or anything like that, and just see, okay, is this somebody I do feel in a safe space with, and that I can bring my vulnerability without judgment to, and be accepted for who I am right now, and with that view of seeing the highest potential in the individual that's coming for coaching as well.
And I think there is some safety in the fact that you don't know this person well. That, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, there's no preconceived ideas or judgments or anything that you know about this person. So in some ways it just feels safe to be able to speak very candidly to someone that you don't really know. But knowing that conversation's happening in a safe space, and this person's got the skills and experience and their tools to support you through that conversation.
Yeah, great. Yeah, fantastic. That's good. Okay. Well, I think we've already gone through sort of how things were for you beforehand, what you used, some of the tools that you used in your journey since we connected in 2022, and now what is lying ahead for you as well as an expert in burnout prevention for healthcare professionals in that coaching space as well, which is great. So anything else you want to add before we round it out with a couple of final questions?
No, I guess if this resonates with you, I guess it'd be great to connect. So please reach out. I have you can reach me on my Instagram page, Morwenna Williams Coaching. Send me a DM, or you can also email me at morwennawilliamscoaching@outlook.com. So
yeah. And I'll put your links in my show notes so people can reach those for sure. Yeah. Pleasure to share that. And then what would you say, this is my final question, what is a self-care routine that you rarely miss?
Yeah, thanks, Jo. I know this question was coming from our conversations previously, so I've had a bit of time to think about this. And I often hear you talk about that non-negotiable self-care thing that you do every day. And I think for me, I don't really have one specific non-negotiable self-care ritual. I think the ritual for myself, and that works for me, is to make that conscious decision every day to ensure that every day I do something for my own self-care. So, whether it's going for a walk, doing some exercise, yoga. I've been doing some sound healing sessions, which are amazing. If you've never tried that, highly recommend that. Focusing on that relaxation piece, showering by candlelight, which is a tip I got from Jo Stone as well. Love that. And the simple things like sometimes all I have time for is go and sitting out in the sunshine with a cup of tea for 10 minutes, just having that mindful moment as part of your everyday. Yeah.
Love that. So good. Thanks for sharing all the different ways that can look for you in one day with one sort of intentional decision on what that might be for you that day. Yeah, that's really wonderful. Well, Wenna, thank you so much for coming on the Burnout Recovery Podcast this week. It's really great to have you on, and thank you so much for, sharing your vulnerability of your journey that brought you into this space and now this growth and future that you are living right now. I'm so excited for where it's going to go for you.
Thanks so much, Joan. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be able to chat with you today. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode. Schedule a 60-minute power hour with me and leave with relief, decisions made, and clear next steps. Or send me an email for a speaking inquiry. All information is available at drjobraid.com with links in the show notes.